Hello everyone, welcome to IAS by Heart. Today we are going to do the first session in polity under the Prelims Heist. So we all know that Prelims Heist is an exclusive program to cover all the important topics through the questions. And here in polity also we are going to cover all the important topics every time, like 10 questions in a session, so that we will make your prelims very much sure enough. Okay. So let's start the session. The first question here, as you can see, consider the following statements regarding Indian Councils Act of 1861. So it is clearly saying that the question is about the historical background of India and the Councils Act 1861. It provided provisions for the establishment of new legislative councils for Bengal, Northwestern provinces, and Punjab. So the point is, you should be able to analyze whether this thing happened under the Indian Councils Act 1861 or not. So either you know it or you don't know it. And here there is nothing like you are going to come out with any assumption. Okay, that is one thing. And then the next important thing is that it recognized the portfolio system established by Lord William Bentinck. So Lord William Bentinck and the portfolio system are the two important keywords which are given here. So in the historical background acts, every act will have certain important features or the unique detriments which are not available in the other acts. So here, immediately when you see the Indian Councils Act 1861, you should get reminded that it is talking about the portfolio system. So in the same manner, if you have read the act properly, you will understand that it has provided for the establishment of new legislative councils. So only thing now the question is that, are the areas correct? And is the name which is given, is it correct? So portfolio system is not introduced by Lord William Bentinck, but it is introduced by whom? Lord Canning, because the year itself here is very clear, 1861. And we know that after 1858, then the next act is Indian Councils Act. So then the Lord Canning is there from there, but not the Lord William Bentinck who was just before it. So here you are sure about the first statement if you have read the act, and then you know that the second statement is wrong. So the answer will be A. And here we will see the explanation once more. So Indian Councils Act 1861, and it has established the new legislative councils for Bengal, Northwestern provinces, and Punjab, and they have established in 1862, 1886, 1897. So it has recognized the system of portfolio, like a system like where every department will be under the in charge of one single person, and this has been introduced by Lord Canning. As we all know, in 1858, the British India concept has come. A lot of territories were added, and the total centralization has happened with Viceroy and Secretary. So that's why dividing the departments was important. So with the background conditions, you can relate and remember. But the point is, from the historical background, always alternative years, we expect an question. So the features has to be very clear. They are not going to ask you the years or any other thing. The features. If they give the act, can you recognize the features? If they give the features, can you recognize the act? That is the logic. Okay. So hopefully we will move to the next question. Now what I want you to do is that you keep a paper and pen and please check that how many you got correct and how well we are going with it. And if you have completed the topics, are you able to answer the UPSC pattern of questions or not? Then it will be better for us. Okay. So the second question is, the Nehru Report of 1928, which was majorly passed as objective resolution in Constituent Assembly, is embodied in which part of the Indian Constitution? So here the three keywords are there. The Nehru Report, they are only saying that it has come in 1928, and then it is passed as objective resolution. They are giving you a clue here. And then where it is there right now in the Indian Constitution, that is the question. So here when you check, it has to be somewhere. So maybe the answer is not there, so that's why they have given the none of the above. So the none of the above always complicates the question, but still we have to check with the answer. So objective resolution is something which is the philosophical part of the constitution. But when you check the directive principles or the fundamental rights, they are also the part of philosophical structure of the constitution. But the combined essence of the objective resolution is clearly mentioned in the preamble only. So that extensive part of the preamble is fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy. But every word, all the key initiative and the directions, guidelines, everything of the preamble is the extensive part of the constitution. So every time we expect directly or indirectly a question related to the preamble. That's why even if it is coming in a factual format, you should be ready. Even if it is coming related to the keywords, you should be ready. Or it is coming about its historical area also, you should be ready. So if you check the whole questions, you will understand that prelims concentrates on preamble's establishment. So as you can see, the objectives resolution, it has been introduced in December 13, 1946, and it will be passed on January 22nd, 1947. Nehru report will be, as the question itself said, 1928. So this will be the preamble part. Later, all the features which are there in the objectives resolution, which we dreamt that if we will have a constitution, we will have it like this. We have incorporated it in preamble. Okay. So this was an easy question only. If you had little bit of background analysis for the preamble. So the next question. So consider which of the following statements, which are the correct statements. So Indian Constitution adopts democratic socialism with distributive justice principle. So democratic socialism is a word you might have heard already. And now the new word might be the distributive justice. So through directive principles of state policy, all your duty is identify whether the statement is correct or not. And the word sovereign in Indian Constitution is inspired from Article 5 of Ireland, it is saying. So Ireland, it is saying in the statement, if you know it directly, if you have clearly referred the sources of Indian Constitution step by step, then you will know that yes, it is referred from Ireland. But this is something which is not given in Lakshmikant book. It is given in the D.D. Basu book. Now the first statement again. Indian Constitution adopts the democratic socialism. So Indian socialism is little different. We don't adopt the international socialism where all the important industries being controlled by the government. We only control the productive part and not the distribution part in the market. And that also only for the important industries like railways or any insurance areas or the drug departments, intoxication departments, like that, where we feel that government control should be there, we control it. And at the same time, in directive principles of state policy, you have socialistic principles. When you observe the socialistic principles, they clearly talk about distributing the wealth equally and distribution of the resources equally. And that is considered as distributive justice. So if you have understood that, interlinking with the word in the preamble, then you can easily know that yes, both the statements are correct. It will be both 1 and 2. But if you find this word difficult in the exam hall and you are confusing that whether it is there or not, then you have to do a little bit of analysis. So here the explanation part. So the directive principles of state policy, as wealth is generated socially, wealth should be shared equally. That is a concept of distributive justice. And it can be accepted in Indian Constitution because we have clearly written it in directive principles of state policy. And as I have said, it is said in the D.D. Basu book with reference that the sovereign word is inspired from the England Article 5, the England Constitution Article 5. So usually most of the sources which are there in Lakshmikant, I thought that you will be clear. So that's why I refer the extensive sources so that it will be more clear for the exam. Okay. So let's move to the next question. So the next question is, this is related to the current affairs recently. So you have seen the issue of the corona and like how the people are not taking care of the dead bodies. And then in Pondicherry, they have dumped the dead body in the trash bin. Even in Madhya Pradesh, it was an issue. So in some areas of Telangana also, the burial things or the cremation of the dead body was an issue in the newspapers. So what happened is that the courts have taken it as a suo motu issue. And recently this discussion has come. The right to die with dignity, embracing the right to decent burial and cremation. So a dead person may not be able to ask for the rights, but still it is important that we are going to respect his existence. So under which of the following article it is included is the question. So none of the above is there. If you are not clearly following the current affairs or you have not read the articles, then it will be confusing. But even if you have read the article 21 or you have read the recent editorials, it will be very clear that it comes under the article 21. So article 21 is something which is clearly giving you the right to fight for the decent and dignified death and to have a cremation. So this was taken as a suo motu issue by the Mumbai High Court and also the Madras High Court. Suo motu is something where the court takes itself. So the bill is filed and then the aggrieved party may not be the victim, but still they take up the case and they give the advisory suggestions for the state or the concerned authority that this should be done like this, and you are supposed to respect the dignity of death also, because it is included in the article 21. Most of the times the article 21 is a very important element. Every 1 or 2 years you see something related to the article 21 being a very, very big issue in India. So for UPSC also it is very important if you check the past question papers. So that's why you please keep an eye every judgment, everything coming related to the fundamental rights and specially related to the article 21. So then the next question, fifth question finally, I want you to keep a count, like how many you are getting right and how many you are able to understand and how many were very easy for you. Okay. So then they considers the following statements. The first statement is, it is about the writs. The writ cannot be issued against a private individual or body. So they are telling you the information. This writ cannot be issued against the Chief Justice of High Court. So now you know that depending upon the options, you are going to come out with a conclusion. So habeas corpus can be issued against the private individual. We know it. And then certitoria, it is related to the information, and prohibition, it is related to curtailing the activity, and it can be issued by the judiciary areas also. So the leftover option will be mandamus. But it is not that easy, like where when you refer the second statement, it cannot be issued against the Chief Justice of High Court. So this has to be remembered when you check the features of the mandamus. So all the features of the mandamus, then you should be clear about it. Then only you will be able to come as a clarity. So check the features. It cannot be issued against a private individual or body. This, I hope most of you might be clear. So which are something which were we use in the High Court and Supreme Court to execute the fundamental rights and to implement the fundamental rights or to re-establish the fundamental rights in their position. So mandamus is something where it is commanding an activity. It is an instructing an activity. So it cannot be issued against the private individual. It is only the state. So as we all know that fundamental rights are also something which are issued against the state only, not against the individuals. So we expect the state should protect us and give the fundamental rights. If it is not happening, then you go and file the writ petition. So against that, you will get these writs to make it a reality. They will use them as the tools. So here, the mandamus cannot be issued against the private individual. It is very clear. And departmental instruction that also not possess statutory force. So if it doesn't have any statutory force also, it cannot be implemented on that area. And if the duty is discretionary, not mandatory, like many of the positions we know that like the president's pardoning area or certain area where it is left for their discretion, you cannot force or command them to do something. So at the same time, contractual obligation, like it is said via contract also, you cannot force them. So against the president or governors also, you cannot issue the mandamus. though they come under the government only, but still you cannot use the mandamus against them, because the total functioning of the president cannot be questioned, that we know through the constitution. Now finally, against the Chief Justice of a High Court acting in the judicial capacity also, it cannot be utilized. So I hope that this point, if you remember, that is well and good. But mostly in the process of reading the total information, if you forget this thing, and usually you assume it to be wrong or correct in the exam hall. So please don't assume anything regarding the writs. Every writs will have 5 points. All the 5 points have to be clearly remembered, because we expect a question related to the fundamental rights static, then you are coming to the writs only. So this is an important area. Okay. Then the next question. So the next question is related to the schedule. And which schedule? Directly, many times we have seen the schedule related questions, like anti-defection law, when which schedule it was introduced, and Panchayat Raj, in which schedule it is there. So like that, schedule related questions have come many times. So that's why schedules are like less, like hardly like 12 schedules you have. It is easy to remember them. But point is that the tiny details, the indirect affairs which are related to the schedules, please concentrate on them. And this area, why I have taken is that this is in the news recently. So the self-rule campaigns are happening. So Tudum Debba and other self-rule campaigns of Adivasi people, already they have happened majoritarily in the past 4 or 5 months back in Jharkhand. Recently they are happening in the Telangana region, especially they are PV teachers. So these people are fighting for the self-rule. So in all the newspapers and all, it is filled, but whenever the news is filled about Adivasis or the scheduled tribes, then it is directly very important area for UPSC. UPSC's like a most pampered area is the scheduled tribes, scheduled caste people, or the reserved categories, vulnerable sections, women. So here you have to show a lot of concentration. Now coming to the options. So if you know that what is 11th schedule and 12th schedule, directly you will eliminate it. Okay. So the direct confusion is between, is it a 5th schedule or 9th schedule? You know that 9th schedule includes the umbrella parts, like where the things which are kept haphazardly. And now 5th schedule is something which talks about the scheduled tribes. So scheduled tribes are talked in 5th and 6th schedule. I didn't even give the option 6th schedule here because it will become more complicated. But still, I have given the 11th and 12th schedule because you might get confused that self-rule word is there. So if the self-rule word is there, you might think that Panchayat Raj extension they are talking about. No, they are not talking about Panchayat Raj extension. They are talking about scheduled tribes area where they can rule themselves. So like if you have read the Lakshmikant, then you will know about like they have their autonomous councils and they can rule for themselves. That is given clearly in 5th and 6th schedules. Through that, they are asking for the rights. That is the self-rule campaigns which are going on. Okay. So this is the information. 5th schedule of Indian Constitution provides for administration and control of tribal lands termed as scheduled areas with self-governance. So 5th schedule specifically talks about scheduled areas, and with self-governance they are talking about it. So it is talking about the 9 states of India and the exclusive areas where it will be decided by the president. So the 5th schedule provides protection to the Adivasi people in the scheduled areas from alienation of their lands and natural resources to non-tribals. So this is something which is circulating in all the news also. So they are discussing that how far it is valid according to the constitution, whether it can be allowed or not also. There is a lot of discussion which is going on. So please remember like under which schedule it comes and why only under this schedules it is coming. Now again, it depends upon the framing of the question. So it can be under the 6th schedule also if I change the question a little bit. But when I'm clearly saying that Telangana and Jharkhand, you know that I'm not talking about Mizoram, Tripura or the other areas which are in the 6th schedule, then obviously it should be the 5th schedule only. So in that way, whatever the static part you are reading, that should go in proper alignment with your dynamic part which is happening in the news. Then you are ready for the exams and proper analysis of the question. Okay. So next question. Any of the doubts regarding the questions we have dealt, or you have any concerns also, please you can comment below, so that like we will be able to solve at least in the coming sessions, or we will reply it back. Okay. Consider the following statements regarding question R. So the motions and the tools of the parliament are very much important. So the question R, which is an Indian innovative thing, and the question R is the most interesting part in the parliament, we all know it. So regarding that, this question is, the list of stat, unstat, short notice questions and the questions to private members are printed in green, white, light pink and yellow color. Now this is a statement completely. So this is like to solve the confusion in the parliament. They have decided that the papers itself will be given in that color. This is very much in the news, and every time when the parliament sessions are going on also, it is available to you as an information. And this is something basic that you should be knowing. It is there in the Lakshmikant book also. So here there is no doubt it is a correct statement. Now the next statement is, the notice duration of, the question is minimum 10 days or maximum 21 days. So is it 21 days or 10 days something? So this information is not given in the Lakshmikant. I'm sure that it is not given. And why I have included this part is that it has been changed. So it has been changed in the recent times, and before it was the minimum 10 days or maximum of 21 days, but now they have fixed it for 15 days. So there is nothing like minimum and maximum time. It is 15 days for everyone right now, and they have to they will be able to take that much of time, and then only they are going to come for the preparation of an answer on the paper format. Okay. So state questions like which are like orally answered, unstate questions like written format answered, short notice question where you are giving a time like where they can prepare everything regarding the question, that can be read, because this is an important area. You have to understand what is a state question, what is an unstated question. There also the question can be framed. But here we are talking about the duration of a question as it is changed. So 15 days is the time. So 15 days they are fixed right now. So what is the answer right now? So the first statement is correct, but the second statement is wrong. But the question is asking which is the incorrect statement. So what should be the answer? So we all know it. What is the answer? So B will be the answer. And the 15-day notice period is now given to be minister to respond to a question in parliament as it is changed. And before it used to be 10 or 21 days. And please refer the tools and the motions of the parliament. You can prepare a chart regarding it, and you can sort it out in the chart. Better you read more differences. It will be more clear rather than the similarities between the tools or the motions. Okay. Then the next question, 8th one. The essence of word fraternity in the constitution. I'm sure that most of the words which are there in the constitution, they have been already discussed in the constitution. So now we are talking about the fraternity word in the constitution. So they have asked about the socialist, they have asked about the republic, parliament, many of the words have been asked. So now we are going to discuss about the fraternity word. These words are like little confusing because the proper definition or exact definition will not be available for us. Now, whenever the UPSC gives the statements, it will be given in such a way that all the options will look like the answers. So that's why it will be complicated. The brotherhood among the people to promote harmony, maybe. The brotherhood as psychological consciousness for unity and integrity of India. And brotherhood and also upholds the concepts of dignity of individual of India. If you have referred the meaning of the fraternity, you know that it is for the unity and integrity of India and the dignity of an individual. So both are like available in the definition. And yes, these both are promoted to promote the harmony only. So as you have the option very clearly that the all the above, so easily you can go for the option all the above. But the point is that this part, you should be very sure that it is included in the definition of the fraternity. Everywhere when we are discussing, we include it. So where do you get in the Constituent Assembly discussion also, even in the discussion in Lakshmikant book also, even in Didi Basu also, we have discussed this element. So that has to be remembered and carried until the exam hall. It's not that just the brotherhood word you are going to remember and go to the exam hall. It will lead for you a lot of confusion. So later you have to remember the extended part of it also, then it will be easy. So as of now, it is all the above. So here, check the information. The Constitution promotes this feeling of fraternity by a system of single citizenship. So that's why we don't want that federal kind of attitude, and we want a strong unity kind of attitude. So to promote the harmony, we have established this thing. And it declares that the fraternity has to assure two things, that is the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. So dignity means every individual should be respected despite of his community, his race, or his any of the belonging with the ethnicity. Especially I have taken this word because we are seeing the riots in the America, and we are seeing the racist movement which is going on. Maybe UPSC always wants to create that thing with its question also, so they might try to ask it. So in that way, remember that dignity of an individual is always protected in the Indian Constitution through the preamble itself. And then the unity and integrity. So unity is the basic philosophy of the Indian Constitution. Under Article 1 and Article 1 to 4, they all concentrate on the unity concept, Union of India. So then integrity is about our loyalty and our proper submission of the duties to the nation in all the critical times, even in the normal times also. That is integrity. We know that integrity word is added in the later part with the 42nd Amendment Act, but still it is an extensive thing which is making the fraternity come into the reality. Okay. Then the next thing, 9th question, under which of the following act the concept of union territories is enforced? So union territories is something in the recent news very much. So that's why I have framed related to the union territories. So usually you remember the amendment. So most of you might be knowing that union territories was not there when the Indian Constitution has formed. With the 7th Amendment Act has come as a reality. So that's why you don't see the word union territory immediately in the beginning of the Constitution. Later it was added. But under which act it was added? That was the question. So now, as you can see, Union Territories Act 1950, States Reorganization Act 1956, States Reorganization Act 1952. So here, if you know the act, that the 7th Amendment Act, like what it gave rise to, then it will be clear. There is nothing called as Union Territories Act, and it is the SRA Act only. So the confusion is between 1956 or 1952. So it is 1956. So you have to know about it because there is a lot of discussion going on union territories, and this act has given rise to specific features of the union territories also. So the act came into effect as a 7th Constitutional Amendment Act also in 1956. So with the 7th Amendment Act to the Constitution in 1956, the concept of union territory is brought into administered areas with a very small area in an area governed by international agreements or politically not evolved for local elective governance. So this was the words which were used in the act, but later we have extended also. Later we have added many other reasons, the strategic reasons, the cultural reasons, and also the security reasons. We have added many. Okay. So then the next is the 10th question. Recently, this is what I was telling the news about. The Dadra and Nagar Haveli and the Daman and Diu, the merger of Union Territories Bill in 2019 was passed. So for the first time, like we have merged Union Territories in the recent period, that is Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu. So if you know about these Union Territories, they are very less densely populated, and they are ecologically important for us, and they are nearby to the Gujarat region. And now the statements are given, you have to identify the incorrect ones. Okay. The merger came into effect to reduce the duplication of services and for the better administration. So if you have been tracking the news, you know. If not, you are going to assume too many things. So it is to reduce the duplication of services only because they are less densely populated, as I have said, and we are repeating all the government position, departments, everything. So we wanted to reduce the expenditure. That is one thing. And to improve the better administration, because we can extend the services and we can extend many of the policies also if we are providing the same amount of money for the development. That is the important thing. So it's a correct statement. And even normal news you have followed also, you will be knowing it. Historically, all 4 territories were administered under the Portuguese India. So I thought that whenever the news comes related to any static part, then the UPSC tries to go back to the historical areas or just more sublimed areas in that area. So the Portuguese is the single area where all these 4 separate territories were ruled. So if you have referred the background, then it is well and good. You know that yes, it is Portuguese. If you have not referred, then there will be a lot of confusion, because when it is saying all 4 territories, then you cannot take a decision that whether it is yes or no. That's why anything which is coming in the news, please refer back to the background history so that you are ready for the UPSC examination. So incorrect statements they are asking, both are correct. So then the answer will be D. So none of them is like incorrect. So the merger of the 2 union territories has happened, which is in the west coast of near the Gujarat. So for the better administration and to check the duplication of various work. This the government has given in the PTI, in the PIB, in many news, they have given this statements. Now all the 4 areas were part of the Portuguese India. In the later part, after the independence, we have joined them into the Indian Union, and we are managing them as the union territories. Now the merger bill is important. I don't think that in the merger bill more than this, the important points are there. If you find any important points, then that is well and good. You can write down in the comments also. So please write down that how many you got correct. As this is the beginning session, I made it sure that we will go with a lot of moderate and easy kind of questions. Slowly we will improve it into the tougher and like a little complicated question. But remember one thing, we are going to follow the UPSC pattern only. Just to show the creativity or to make you confused, we are not going to bring anything which is not in the pattern of the UPSC. So everything will have 2 things, static part, dynamic part. And then is there any relativity? The similar question has been asked in the past. So with all these views in the mind only, we are preparing the questions. So please check the PDF file and refer it and refer the topic again extensively so that it will be useful for you. Okay. And please comment any suggestions. Everything will be welcomed. And in the further sessions, it will be useful for you and me also. Okay. Thank you.